So the Randall Carlson Graham Hancock theory, which is not really their theory, it's an actual scientific theory called the Younger Dryas Impact Theory, that says that there's a certain period of time somewhere around between 12,800 years ago, and then Graham thinks it's probably happened multiple times since then. Maybe not as big, or maybe but similar impacts, where we pass through this comet cloud. And the United States, which was covered in half a mile of ice, or as much as a mile high of ice, half the country, all that was wiped out almost instantaneously, and that these things hit all over the world, probably reset civilization, and probably caused the mass extinction of. In North America, it was like 65% of the megafauna died very quickly.
Geologically speaking, real quick.
Yeah.
But to add a little interest to our site, we do have excavators. We do dig around. We'd have mining gravel operations and stuff like that. But in the Boneyard, we use the excavators primarily to keep the drains open. And we were digging one day and we found burnt bedrock. And you've probably seen a picture of that.
Yeah.
But the bedrock is actually burned. I mean, you can tell it's burned. Rub it, it's got charcoal. I mean, it's like, and the gravels right above it are burned. Now, to go along with that theory, we had sea levels that rose 300 to 400 feet in a relatively short period of time. And Beringia, which was that land bridge that came across, suddenly it was no longer a land bridge, it was underwater. Worldwide, sea levels rose 300 to 400 feet around the globe.
Yeah, quickly.
Real quick. And might have been quicker than the megafauna could adopt to. Megafauna had to have the right ecosystem to live in, and it changed too quick, and they couldn't adopt. That's my theory. Adapt, yeah.
Yeah. So that's probably part of it too, right? Because some of the things probably survived. They think a lot of things died on the impacts or during the floods, and if you found charcoal, I mean, they found this stuff that they call nuclear glass. It's called trinitite, I believe is the way they pronounce it. But it's the same sort of material they found during the Trinity explosion, which is like from the immense impact of the explosion, it turns sand and particles into glass. And they find that all around the world at that same, when they do core samples at that same time period. And so if there's impacts like that, there's most likely fires. Mm-hmm. And so that's probably what you're looking at.
It could
be.
Yeah.
Or it could be some other sort of mass fire that hit that area.
But it's under 60 feet of silt, 10 to 15 feet of gravel. And where this is located is the widest pay streak in the interior. It's about a mile wide, this pay streak, where the gold is. The mountains used to be, a few thousand feet taller than they are right now, where the pay was coming out of the host rock. And gold's got a specific gravity of 19, meaning it'll displace itself 19 times in water. So that's how sluice boxes work. Gold pans. You mix the dirt with the water, the gold goes right to the bottom. Same way with the pay streak. The gold's moving down the creek, it goes deeper and deeper and deeper, the gravel goes over the top of it, pretty soon it hits bedrock, it can't go any deeper, and that's where it stays. And the gravel just keeps moving down. So there was a lot of water that went through this valley. This creek there now is not 15 feet wide, but the valley itself with the pay gravels is a mile wide.
Wow.
And there's gold throughout the whole thing.
So at one point in time, there could have been a river that's a mile wide that was running through there.
Could have been. I don't know.
And these animals that they said that aren't supposed to be there, what animals are those?
Dire wolves being one of them.
Dire wolves? You found dire wolves?
Dire wolves.
Do you have photos of this stuff? Is it all up on your Instagram?
Yeah. Well,
Jamie's looking.
Yeah, there might be some on that on my page.
So when you found dire wolves, like in what condition? Just the bones?
Yeah.
Because you found some tissue too, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Like a lot of these animals died and you found little pieces of soft tissue and tendons and ligaments, which those paleontologists were thrilled by. Like, they couldn't believe it.
Yeah. They had bones with marrow still in them.
Wow.
And the carnivores had pretty strong jaws. They liked the marrow. That might explain why so many bones are broken where they're broken.
Mm-hmm.
They chewed into these animals. And one of the other extinct, not just dead, but extinct animals we found up there is, we've never found elk before. Well, we found some elk, but the experts say they didn't exist up there. And I know you'd like to hunt elk and eat elk, but
elk exist in Alaska.
They exist down. I think they do.
They do. They do. So that's a direwolf skull.
Yeah.
Wow. They have Roosevelt elk in Alaska. They have them on some of the islands on the coast. A Fognak has Roosevelt elk on it because it's a very difficult hunt that people go on, and the problem is there's enormous brown bears on there. And my friend Steve Ranella told a story on the podcast of how they shot an elk up there, and it's an incredibly difficult hike in and hike out. You're going through very thick brush and terrain at a very steep angle. It's very hard to get through with anything. So they take this elk, they hang it in a tree, and they come back the next day to cut it up and to take it apart. But by the time they get back, a bear has already claimed it, and they don't know this yet.
Uh-oh.
And they get rushed by this bear. He said it ran straight through their camp, but it found so many people didn't know exactly what to do, and it ran through. One of their guys winds up on top of the bear's back somehow. So it literally plows through the camp, and he's riding this bear's back for like 15, 20 yards. And then falls off the bear's back, and the bear runs into the woods, and the bear's huffing at them. And then they get out their rifles. Like, they were eating lunch. They had no idea. So there are elk up there.
Yeah, but they're not in the interior. And we're...
Which is crazy because they're on the island. Like, how are they on a Fognak if they're not in the interior? How'd they get on that island?
How'd the little mini mammoths get down to one of the islands on the southeast? They say these miniature mammoths lived there till 4,000 years ago.
That's interesting. That's island dwarfism, right? That happens with elephants too. When elephants live on an island, they get smaller.
Yeah.
Yeah.